So we've had a couple of days now to settle into the news that Alek Manoah has been sent down to the minor leagues, to the Florida Complex League to be exact, by the Toronto Blue Jays. And we're not exactly sure of the timeline or when he will be back, but we know that it'll be a few trips through the rotation at least. But today we're going to break down the real reason as to why the Jays sent him down and much more on this episode of Jays Digest. What's up, Jays fans? I'm your host, Peter Vryonis, alongside host Nick Gosse. And pretty tough loss yesterday for the Toronto Blue Jays. We couldn't get a post-game video out for you guys, but we are bringing you this today just to discuss the real reason as to why we think Alek Manoah is being sent down to the Florida Complex League. And we could think of a multitude of reasons, but we want to pinpoint one particular thing that we're going to talk about in today's video. But I want to thank you for all the support that we've gotten. Just keep it rolling, and we're going to keep the videos rolling as a result.
Yeah, we're on the road to 7,500. You guys have been killing it. We're at 7,100 now. You seem to love the news videos, so we'll keep getting those out, especially because there's a lot of news going down. But let's just get into it. And behind the real reason, we have a few reasons we'll pinpoint. Peter, we have a couple things that we really narrows down to one. But let's just start with this. So this, of course, was the big news. Shot a VD on June 6th, and he said he opted with the Florida Complex to leave with Alek Manoah so they can use all the resources there, including the pitching lab. They plan to do a full assessment of his delivery and proceed from there, said John Schneider. And that's kind of the big thing we're going to touch on here today, is a mix of his delivery, which has completely been, I wouldn't say completely out of whack, but he made some adjustments, whether it was in the offseason or whatever it was, that has completely changed the way his pitching. His location has been horrible. And Peter, before we get into a couple more screenshots, what have you noticed out of his delivery or anything about him that you think is going to be able to get fixed, hopefully, in the Florida Complex League where there's no pressure at all?
Yeah, for sure. As a pitcher, when things aren't going your way, you tend to squeeze the ball and you try to place it as opposed to just going ahead and pitching. And I think it's partly mental with Alek Manoah right now. His confidence is at an all-time low. This is someone who has never experienced any sort of
At
adversity,
any level.
not only in his major league career, but at any level, like you just said. So it's hard for him. He doesn't know how to deal with this because he's never been punched in the face before, but now he's gotten punched in the face and he's got to find a way to get back to his old self. And I truly believe that he will. But my main reason as to why his struggles have continued and he hasn't been able to climb out of the hole that he dug himself is because of fatigue. And I think it could be because of conditioning, but he threw a lot of innings last year and not that many the year before. So when you make a big drastic jump in innings like that from year to year, it takes a toll on you, not only on your arm but your entire body, because he's a big man and he uses his legs when he's out there pitching. He uses his arm, and every part of your body gets taxed. So maybe full reset, send him down, work on those mechanics, get back to what was making you successful beforehand, and just try to relax a little bit, because right now he had so much pressure on him, and now he's in the Florida Complex League. No pressure, just try to figure it out, and hopefully he'll be ready once he comes back.
Yeah, I agree. And ultimately, the mechanics is the big thing. And whether that's from conditioning, which I'm sure plays a factor, fatigue, I think it all might play together and kind of pinpoint this key reason here. And Ross Atkins kind of hinted on it, and then Chris Black, which I'll show you in a minute, delved deeper. And this was basically, this was on Thursday. Ross Atkins said Manoah will likely stay down in Dunedin for a few turns around the rotation, but didn't put a concrete timeline to it. He further changed that to a 2 turns at least, which we'll discuss in a minute. But the key part here is at bottom where it says it's about the Blue Jays starter eliminating some new learned patterns in his delivery. And we've noticed that, and we've actually mentioned it in a couple of videos, how when he pitches, he kind of starts to swing out of the, like, turns his back almost when and he tends to miss tons on pitcher side. So you can see here, Chris Black, go check this out, delve into it deeper. It was from a few days ago if you want to read the full tweet there, look at the video. But Buck Martinez mentioned it in a broadcast, and Chris Black delved deeper, saying he picked up on Manoah's almost backing off his delivery/release. It's like a golf swing. You want everything to be smooth, but your point of acceleration and most violence should be at the release point of impact. And as you can see here, a little bit of a freeze frame. It's not the case with Manoah. He's completely, swinging away from it. And right now, Manoah's like a golfer who's been spraying his line drives all over the place. So at the point of impact, he's doing his best to make sure to face square, but he's not letting it rip. And his command has been probably the biggest issue. Obviously, his slider, it doesn't have as much bite as it used to, but his mechanics seem out of whack. They're not repeatable, which is obviously a big thing. If you're pitching, 'cause if you're not repeating it, then you're never going to be able to throw strikes. But mechanics is the big thing. And who knows the real reason behind the mechanics, but this seems to definitely be, like Ross Atkins said here, the real reason that he got demoted, which was to fix his mechanics and hopefully work on maybe the pitch clock as well, which I think is a big factor.
What those bad mechanics tells me is that he's fatigued or he's compensating, because when you do feel a tweak in your arm or in your legs or something like that, you tend to throw in a different way to kind of go away from that pain. Now, I'm not saying he's injured. I'm not saying he has been from the
I wouldn't
start
be
of the season,
surprised.
but maybe he might be. But if he was injured, I'd like to think that the Jays would have shut him down by now. So I don't think it's that. I think we could rule that out. But he must be tired, or he must have something going on that we don't know about, because to go from that he did last year, from a 2.24 ERA to mid six, I mean, that's just unheard of. It doesn't make sense. So something's got to give there, but he leads the league in walks per nine among qualified starting pitchers, and that's very concerning. He's walked about a batter every 2 innings, or a batter every inning and 2/3 on average. So it's been really bad. His command has just not been there, and he's gone progressively worse from start to start. So maybe give him some time here, and I think he will figure it out. But once you add a healthy and a well-going Alek Manoah to this rotation, then man, the Blue Jays are going to be a scary sight for any team that they play against.
Yeah, obviously had a rough loss yesterday, but the pitching has been unbelievable. The offense has been the thing that's really been the big concern, and hopefully we pick that up. But like you said, and I think we didn't mention it in an original video, which I like to mention now. Obviously, he got sent down to the Florida Complex League. He is from Florida, so I'm sure that'll add some comfort to him. He probably has family, or definitely has family there in Florida. But yeah, the big thing here is his mechanics, and who knows, again, how long he'll be down there. Ross Atkins did hint, like I said earlier, this was yesterday later. He said Ross Atkins says Manoah will be away from the team for at least 2 trips through the rotation as he's traveling to Dunedin today. And like you said, Manoah has a track record in all levels of being great, but at the same time, that hurts him in the sense of, like you said, he had no adversity. So he wasn't really able to bounce back like maybe Jose Brios did this year. And I'm sure that Alek Manoah will bounce back at some point, but he needs to fix the mechanics. And again, I highly recommend you go check this out. Looking at it now in hindsight, you could really, maybe at the start of the season we kind of chalked it up as something else, but I think I agree with you. It's completely fatigue at this point, or he just made some adjustment for no reason. That wouldn't make a whole lot of sense considering his success at all levels where he had the repeatable delivery.
Yeah, and I don't want to question his work ethic, because I
No,
don't know
definitely
what
not.
kind of work that he puts in, day out. But the one thing when you don't face adversity is that there might not be incentive to work harder than you did the year before, or there might not be incentive to get any better. Because let's face it, Alek Manoah was at the top of the food chain last season. He was third in Cy Young voting. Could have very well made a case for him to win the whole thing if Justin Verlander wasn't the greatest pitcher that we've seen in this generation, but he was at the top alongside Dylan Cease, who is now struggling this year.
Sandy
And
Alcantara too, horrible year.
exactly. So
Mhm.
there's a bug going around Major League Baseball. It's affecting some aces, but hopefully those guys all figure it out. But yeah, when you don't face adversity, and when you know nothing but success, not only in your Major League career but your entire baseball career, then it's hard to stay motivated. And now that he's got a big chip on his shoulder, as if he needed another one, Alek Manoah is going to be ready. He's going to be motivated, and this is grind time right now. However long you're going to be in Dunedin for, whether it's 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 1 month, it is grind time. Get down to business. Get up at 5 a.m. Get your work in, get your pitches in, and come back ready whenever the Jays call you back.
Yeah, and I'm sure he works very, very hard. But like you said, either way, this is a wake up call that he needed at this point. He couldn't not keep throwing him out there, and it kind of leads into quickly before we wrap up now today's starter, which is Trevor Richards as an opener, probably a couple innings into Bowden Francis, and it's going to be interesting to see how they do today because if they do horrible. Then at this point, who do you call up? We still have Zach Thompson who cleared waivers, so I don't know. It's a very rough time for the fifth starter, but I have some faith in the bullpen. But we kind of saw it in yesterday's game, where in the 10th inning they use Adam Simber instead of maybe Trevor Richards because they have to compensate for the bullpen role. So
That's right.
it's gonna be interesting to see how much it has an impact going forward on not just the fifth day but the other day. But anything final before we wrap up here?
Yeah, today is going to be crucial to dictate how the Jays go moving forward. And it's not easy to have bullpen days. Now, Bowden Francis, he's a fine young arm, and he's going to be pretty good in his major league career. And I think he will provide some solid innings, but he's 3 to 4 innings at a time at most. So you're going to need some length out of him. You're going to need some length out of Trevor Richards today. And Mitch White is also going to play a role as well. Recently called up for the DFA to Anthony Bass. So it's going to be interesting to see. I don't know if the Jays can sustain having a bullpen day every fifth day. So they might have to look on the trade market and they might have to overpay for someone, which is something we did discuss on yesterday's video. So go check that out if you want to go ahead and do that. But it's going to be very interesting to monitor this situation. And I'm not saying the Jays have been backed into a corner, but they kind of have been now with Alek Manoah's struggles and the lack of depth that they have in AAA. So I wouldn't be surprised if they trade for someone soon if they cannot keep up this pace here.
Yeah, let us know what your thoughts are on that. And hopefully the Jays have a good day today that maybe, sheds some light on the future. But that'll wrap up the video. Thank you guys for watching. See you tomorrow.